Okay, so the guy who reviewed Mouse PI probably cries when he takes a dump. Because imagine saying, I can't take a game about detective mice with guns seriously, so I'm gonna give it a bad score. Grow up. You know, I already made a video about this, but something happened that made me laugh. And we're gonna get to that in a second. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, baby. We're live streaming very soon, and follow me on Twitter to send me all the news stories out there. Back in 2015, IGN reviewed Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire and said it was a 7 out of 10 because it had too much water. And now, fast forward over 10 years later, we've evolved to too much cheese, 6 out of 10 because IGN never changes. Remember, they gave Concord a 2nd, and also they said Dragon Age the Velguard was a 9, and they gave Dustborn a 7 too. These fart sniffers have zero quality control whatsoever. They're also working out of San Francisco. Oh yeah, brilliant. I can only imagine what those streets smell like in that hippie town. Now, I have to say, they give these controversial scores on purpose because otherwise nobody would give them any attention, and it definitely seems like a pattern, doesn't it? It's rage baiting through and through, clout chasing if you will. But you know what's funny? I remember people back in like 2012 saying that you can't spell ignorant without IGN. Like 15 years ago. I mean, they've been a joke for way over a decade now. But remember guys, you know, according to this reviewer, gaming is a serious like Martin Scorsese level medium. Every game basically needs to be like Goodfellas or, you know, The Departed. So realistic. And all the characters must be ugly, and how can I forget, it needs to address real-world political issues. That's the IGN editor every time they have a game to review. Trash. Trash, trash. You know what? I bet if the mouse wore a skirt and came out as part of the alphabet community, I'm sure this reviewer would have given it a 10 out of 10, calling it the most important story of our lifetime. A coming-of-age story starring a mouse breaking societal norms and becoming the rainbow-colored rodent he was destined to be. Because remember, it takes a special kind of beta cuck to review a game this badly. I remember people saying back in like 2012 that you can't spell ignorant without IGN. They've been a joke for way over a decade now. Anyway, the update is that Mouse PI has received an overwhelmingly positive score of 97% on Steam. But according to IGN, how dare this game blend noir, parody, and cartoons and not take itself seriously? Well, how very naughty of them. Whoever reviewed this game is some kid who is like freshly out of university trying to act like he's really smart. He's so desperate to appear like some kind of intellectual. Too bad he's an absolute terrible game reviewer. Because all he did was ask ChatGPT what noir means. He's just a loser. I would actually pay to see this reviewer watch Monty Python. His eyes would pop out of his head. Oh my god, these people aren't actually taking arrows and swords to the face? 6 out of 10. See, this dork saw the trailers of Mouse PI and actually thought he was gonna get a serious detective mouse game. He saw a mouse holding a chandelier, using it as a cannon, shooting other mice, and thought, you know what, it's not serious enough. These cartoon mice aren't actually real. 6 out of 10. Yeah, good job, buddy. This freak probably played LA Noire like once and then thought he was the gatekeeper of the whole noir genre, even though he has no clue what he's talking about. How does a noir enthusiast, his words, that a lot of the early noir that you saw in the 20th century was mostly tongue-in-cheek. It wasn't really a farce, but it was very funny. See, this game was made for a very niche audience who yearned for the 1930s cartoons. I don't think the developers actually care about catering to the general casual mongoloids like this. Because Mouse PI, as much as I've been playing it, is primarily a shooter video game with a noir aesthetic. This reviewer probably thought it was the other way around, which is just completely silly. He thought it was a noir aesthetic serious video game that just happens to be a shooter. No, that's not what it is. You know what I think? I think that this reviewer actually liked the game. That's what it sounds like to me. You actually liked it, but you have to figure out some kind of galaxy brain take. So you can just nitpick, oh my god, there's an alligator in the sewer, because of course there is. Like I said, that was an actual critique that this guy gave. You know what? Maybe if this alligator was some kind of girl boss, like, yes, queen, maybe you'll give it a 9 out of 10. Now, in my previous video, I suggested that the developers actually run with the too much cheese meme because it would be hilarious, and apparently they did. You probably already know this if you're watching, but the reviewer docked some points because everything's a reference to cheese. No Sherlock, that's the point. Oh my, can you just imagine being that petty and pathetic? Oh, he buys a game about mouse and he's surprised with how many mouses love cheese. Oh my god, bad game, 6 out of 10. I mean, talk about missing the forest for the trees. These developers had the guts to make a game in black and white in 2026. Something that you'd never see a AAA game developer make. And these guys can't be cool enough to appreciate that. Think about it, do you think Ubisoft or EA would ever greenlight a game like this? We've got a doomer shooter in the art style of a 1920s or 30s rubber hose cartoons animation. Think about how fun and unique that sounds, but he's mad because mice make cheese references. Oh, come on, buddy, you're just useless. I can't believe that cheese is referenced a lot of times in a fun cartoon mouse game. Oh, wow. Let's actually put that in a review we're gonna post online for millions to see. You know what? Does this mean that IGN will give GTA 6 a 6 for having too much carjacking? Posted a video on Instagram and X of Jack standing in front of a bunch of cheese with a caption saying, "Too much cheese," and I absolutely love the fact that they did this. It's perfect if you ask me. Too much cheese, that's right. That's exactly how you deal with the low IQ scum like the Ignorant Gamers Network, IGN. Because remember when IGN gave Path of Exile 2 an 8 out of 10, and then it gave Concord a 7 out of 10? You cannot tell me that these games are just 1 point off from one another. There's absolutely no way. I mean, one of them is actually decent and the other one got shut down after only 12 days. Do you really think we were born yesterday? I don't understand how IGN is still relevant. I think most people go to their channel for their trailers. Because when it comes to opinions on video games, they have lost their way and credibility a long time ago. I mean, really, tell me in the comments when was the last time you took an IGN review seriously. There's a reason why independent YouTubers and streamers hold much more sway over gamers these days. Does anybody else remember when IGN slandered the Black Myth Wukong developers because they declined Sweet Baby Inc.'s help? The whole thing is just a racket. They got rejected for their stupid consultation offer, whatever that means. So they called up their friends in the industry to write a slanderous article against that studio. Sweet Baby told IGN, "Harass these game developers who don't want to hire us. Keep harassing them until they're willing to pay 7 million. Yes, 7 million, that's not a joke. And if they give us 7 mil, we'll give you 1 million from that." And IGN was like, absolutely. If I was the Black Myth developers, I would have sued these, quote, journalists for defamation. The whole thing was just disgusting, and it really shows you the lengths that this whole corruption thing goes. Because when you really take a step back, game journalists and people like DSP Gaming are the reason why we get yellow paint in games. Now, in my opinion, 80% of game journalists, it's really like 90%, couldn't really hack it. In any other industry, they couldn't make their way to the New York Times or the Huffington Post. Their silly little musical theater background didn't help them in any way. So what did they do? They settled as video game, quote, critics. So they decided to take their own resentment for how their career went on the one medium that made the mistake of accepting them. So now we have to suffer through this drivel. By the way, the whole idea of games journalism is actually idiotic. Because take a step back and think about this. It's always going to be an opinion-based editorial. Because it's all subjective. There's no universal measure of a gaming experience, only your opinion. So in my mind, when I think about journalism, if you're breaking stories about the industry, the inner workings, all the scandals, the backroom dealings, you're exposing secrets, we call that journalism. But nowadays, probably because of politics, we've just accepted the bare minimum. And that's why we have to deal with reviews like this. And on that bombshell, Manix out.